The first thing he's going to do when he gets back to D.C. is address jobs, creating more jobs as well as national security. But what I thought was the most powerful thing that he mentioned is that he wants to bring this country back to a unified nation. He says it's so important that we don't focus on parties right now, that we come together as one and start addressing the problems that we want to fix.
This is a piece of the metal that fell, and I can't even bend it, but look at how much the wind bent it. And I'm not the strongest person in the world, but I can't physically move this whatsoever. So that's just how powerful these sustained winds were here in downtown Jacksonville.
Well, it was a long, emotional week for Judge Wade Naramore and his family. But tonight, he is an innocent man. They're either going to splash water on me or they're going to get stuck because it's so high on this road so that every Trump supporter can see them as they go inside. The highway department, though, already has a plan in place to make sure that these slushy, wet roads that we're enjoying right now to drive in remain that way. Now, Sanders did come in as the underdog in today's race here in Arkansas, with Hillary being the former First Lady of the state. The state park recommends for the average adult to hike Pinnacle Mountain safely. They arrested 4,200 people for DUIs. This year, cut that in half. They arrested 2,100. Shrinking down to the capital city, LRPD says they arrested 349 people. These used to be a part of the original dam before the bridge was put on top of it. But when they weren't needed anymore, when the bridge came, the county decides to make them part of the Big Dam Bridge Plaza. If the proposed budget cut passes, it kicks in the same year the contract with the Razorbacks is over. So the stadium would lose 50% of their general revenue. How's Colorado treating you?
Yeah, Elle, certainly didn't think I'd be talking to you so soon, especially in conditions like these.
Not a bad place to be snowed in, though. Happy Labor Day weekend, everyone. A gorgeous day and evening to get outside and a wild day for college football. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Marielle Mohs. The Razorbacks dodged a loss, coming out winners in their home season opener. Do you ever think, oh, we have a Keurig in our office, so we're pretty high tech? Well, think again. These office spaces will blow your mind. So we might be losers with the Powerball, but we're winners with the cool down we got. I'm okay with that. Supermoon tonight, 5:30 is the peak time. Are we gonna have good conditions to see it?
Yeah, we should. Tonight should be.
You've heard of them, or you're using them, like the injectable Humira for Crohn's disease.
Since 2011, it's had a price increase of 68%.
Or maybe the allergen injection, EpiPen.
We've experienced a 139% increase.
Or how about Xyrem for narcolepsy? It spiked 116% in 5 years. All of these adding up quickly and often.
We see some manufacturers raising their prices 2 times a year, 3 times a year.
These price spikes consistent nationwide. And behind it all, the drug companies.
Internally, we tend to chalk that up to greed.
Simply because they can.
Yeah, prescription drug price inflation is that simple, says Scott Pace, the CEO of Arkansas Pharmacists Board.
Not because there's an increase in demand, not because there's a raw material shortage, but simply because Valiant could get away with charging more for their product.
Dr. Dwight Davis of UAMS researches the price trends. He's seen the highest growth over the last 10 years.
Most of the increase was driven by average claim cost. And so that tells us that we've seen significant increase in the drug cost itself.
Whoa, wait, what's average claim cost? I get it. It's confusing. Let's break down how average claim costs makes your medicine so expensive. When you go to the pharmacy to pick up your prescription, the pharmacist writes a claim to your insurance. That claim determines how much the insurance company is going to pay and how much you pay. Let's say I have a high deductible. I'm going to feel the effects immediately right here at the pharmacy counter, paying entirely out of pocket. But if I pay copays, I keep paying the same flat rate every time while my insurance company picks up the higher cost. Sounds nice, right? But I'll start getting hit once my insurance company decides to raise my copay to help with the total cost. Either way, we pay because it's legal.
There are no regulations that we're aware of that govern how often price increases can be taken.
And the FDA does not have control over them either.
We have a Food and Drug Administration that regulates the safety and efficacy of products, but not any agency that governs the pricing of those products.
Health insurance companies now stuck, unable to make their patients' health a top priority.
Many families have to choose between food and drugs, and that's really it's a difficult place to be as a healthcare provider because you want to help them every way you can, and it's not always possible.
Leaving families to fight their illness all on their own.
we would have sold the house, all the furnishings in it, all my wife's jewelry, and we couldn't have afforded the medicine.
That's Doyle Burkfelt of Batesville. He could not afford the drug Harvoni, the only cure for his wife's illness. In the second part of a three-part investigation tomorrow night, Winnie Wright will introduce us to this family and their struggle to afford a life-saving drug. Almost everybody we talked to today on Anastasia Island used the same word to describe their situation: lucky. Even though more than 100-mile-per-hour winds knocked down siding and trees, these people say those are easy fixes in the grand scheme of things. Broken trees, ripped siding, and shredded wood line these island streets.
Very scary, very noisy.
Some who chose to ride out the storm.
So we have 3 cats, so we didn't want to leave the cats.
Finally being reunited with their evacuated neighbors.
And I had a friend come over here and help me clean it all up.
To rebuild together.
Very, very lucky.
We were very fortunate.
An island uplifted by the positive perspectives of those who call it home.
Everybody's out helping each other, offering help, cleaning up their yards.
Most of Anastasia Island didn't take as hard a beating as the other coastal cities, a lot in part to a last-minute barrier.
The city's been absolutely fabulous.
On Wednesday, the day before Hurricane Matthew hit Anastasia Island, the city put this sand dune in place. And although the surge eroded most of the sand dune, residents are crediting it with saving their homes and businesses.
Deck would be gone. We would have had 4 or 5 feet of water inside the restaurant if the building stood up.
Beachcombers, a local staple since the 1950s, not only still standing, but fully operating, thanks to a dedicated staff.
Some of them are displaced, but they were here last night when the power came back on, helping clean up.
The dedicated customers couldn't be happier.
We wanted to check out Beachcomber because it's a landmark to see if it made through the storm.
It did survive, along with the community's spirit.
Neighbors that never talk to each other are getting out, talking to each other, helping each other. It's great to see that.
And it's also great to see beach access again. About half the island has power right now, the other half still waiting. But either way, there is a boil order in place right now, which means you have to boil your water for at least a minute before using it to drink or cook with. Reporting in Anastasia Island, Marielle Mohs, First Coast News.